Hello, I'm Nick Simon from Nottingham, and I'm the Nottingham organiser for New Culture Forum. The views expressed in this video, however, are my own. I'm not acting as a spokesman for New Culture Forum. Well, the Euros has been a great tournament to watch. I've watched every England game at the famous Nottingham sports bar Hooters. I've watched every single England game there with the same England shirt on, which I kept having to frantically wash between games. I watched a lot of games as well that didn't involve England as an absolute football fanatic. And believe it or not, somebody who still plays football every week, I absolutely loved it. And, you know, I got really involved in it. So anyway, it was very sad last night when England lost the final. I'm sure everybody's as devastated as I am. But a word of comfort on that, for me at least, 4 years ago, England were in the final against Italy. England completely outplayed Italy, but we couldn't quite get that winning goal. And the game went to penalties and we lost on penalties. Now, to me, that was devastating, absolutely devastating. This time, England had done very well to get to the final, but on the day of the final, we really were second best to the Spanish. And we had the wonderful moment of the England equalising goal, which was everybody went berserk. So that moment I'll never forget. But basically, on the day, the Spanish played better. They played more incisively. They pressed quicker. They moved quicker, and they deserved to win the game. And they got a second goal in 90 minutes. So obviously, the game didn't have to go to extra time and penalties. So to me, although England lost, it was a lot less painful than the previous loss to Italy 4 years earlier, which was on penalties. So, I've heard that Gareth Southgate is due to get a knighthood for becoming the first England manager to be in consecutive European Championship finals and lose both. Now, it's amazing how we reward failure in this country, but Gareth Southgate getting a knighthood doesn't bother me. I've got nothing against Gareth Southgate, and if they want to give him a knighthood, give him a knighthood. That's absolutely fine by me. But when Gareth Southgate arrogantly says, now is not the time to discuss my future, I'm sorry, Gareth, it is. It is the time, and the time is now. Because 2 years from now is the World Cup. We need to change the manager now so that the new manager has 2 years to prepare. We at least need to give them 2 years to prepare. And clearly, we need a manager that appreciates tactics better than Gareth Southgate, appreciates attacking, flowing football better than Gareth Southgate, knows how to get a team to press rather than passing it square, and is an offensive team rather than a defensive team. I think Gareth Southgate has proved that we're not going to win a tournament under his leadership, but there's no point letting Gareth Southgate go 6 months before the next World Cup. We've got 2 years to go before the next World Cup. Gareth Southgate, you need to go now. And we need to get a new manager in. I've no idea who it will be. We'll let the experts come up with that. But we need a fresh face, a fresh start. And to be fair to the new England manager, give him a chance. Give him 2 years to get organised and ready for the World Cup, because we've got a great squad, we've got great players, and we just need the person at the top to know what he's doing, which I'm afraid I don't think Gareth Southgate does. So anyway, Gareth Southgate has some similarities in this situation with Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak has just lost, I think, the most historically most disastrous general election result for the Conservative Party. Rishi Sunak has led the Conservative Party off a cliff, worst general election result in history, and it was all down to one man, Rishi Sunak. I don't think that, basically, the voters that voted for Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, and yes, they've won a Democratic mandate with a big majority, but apparently the voter numbers that Keir Starmer got were less than that of Jeremy Corbyn in the previous general election. But what happened to change the general election is that the people that voted Conservative last time round in 2019 gave Boris Johnson a thumping majority. Those people either, like myself, a Conservative Party member that voted Reform, or many of the others just stayed at home. But the Reform voters, former Conservative, the stay-at-home Conservative voters, they all had one thing, and that is, I am not voting for Rishi Sunak. So Rishi Sunak is totally to blame. Rishi Sunak has cost the Conservatives the worst election defeat in, I believe, their history. Now, I believe that this was a personal thing, and basically the voters that voted Reform, the voters that stayed at home, all of whom would normally previously have voted Conservative, I believe they have given Rishi Sunak a punishment beating at the polls. Rishi Sunak was to blame. The number of mistakes he's made, obviously we can talk about him coming home early from the D-Day celebrations, and we can talk about his ridiculous, ill-advised decision to hold the general election on July the 4th, when he could have held it later in the year. I was suggesting November 21st, when the interest rates may well have come down and you were hoping to see some flights off to Rwanda, but instead he foolishly tried to trick everybody and bring the election forward, and it's absolutely backfired in his face, because the voters have literally delivered a punishment beating to Rishi Sunak. Now, the reasons for that punishment beating obviously are, there's a huge plethora of potential reasons, but I firmly believe that the strongest reason why Conservative-minded people would not vote for Rishi Sunak was that he treacherously stabbed Boris Johnson in the back. He was plotting against Boris Johnson, and then when Boris Johnson was forced out of office, there was a leadership vote that the Conservative Party members, in voting for Liz Truss, basically rejected Rishi Sunak. Liz Truss was herself forced out of office after a short time, and Rishi Sunak then managed to get himself as Prime Minister and get himself into number 10 Downing Street with no democratic mandate. He had not won a general election. He had not won the election of the Conservative Party members. In fact, he had been rejected. So he had no democratic right to be in number 10 Downing Street. He had no mandate. Now, I believe that the way British people are is their democracy is extremely important to the British voter, and democracy must be respected. Now, I believe that the British voter, once they'd seen Sunak get into number 10 Downing Street, force and manipulate himself into that role without a mandate, I believe the British voters, like myself, just says, well, okay, there's nothing we can do about this until polling day. But come polling day, Mr. Sunak, you wait, because you'll be out, because you've no right to be there. You've no democratic mandate. You've cheated the democratic system in this country. So we're going to vote you out. And that's exactly what the British people did. So, You have to say congratulations to Sir Keir Starmer and Labour. They have won a genuine democratic mandate from the British people. And also you have to say well done to Reform, Nigel Farage and Richard Tice getting 4 million votes and only 5 seats, when the Liberal Democrats got, I think, 3.5 million votes approximately, and I believe 71 seats. So, you know, you have to say well done to Nigel Farage, Richard Tice and Reform. They did absolutely brilliantly. So what of Rishi Sunak? Now, Rishi Sunak has said he will resign, quite rightly, but I want him to resign now. I want him to resign, and if he wants to go off to California, I would say, great, go off to California, Mr. Sunak, stay there, you're not wanted. The British people have voted, it's so clear, the British people have voted because they've had enough of you, Mr. Sunak, and they want you gone. They do not want you hanging around for months and months and months as leader. They voted for you to go, so you've had to go as Prime Minister, but they don't want you hanging around as Conservative Party leader for months and months and months. Then there's a more practical and very, very obvious point. The Conservative conference starts on, I believe, October the 5th. Now, you can't possibly go into a conference, a party conference in Birmingham, with a lame duck leader that has promised to resign. This is absolutely ridiculous. It's almost like a childlike notion. The Conservatives need to get their new leader in place before October the 5th, the start of the conference, and then the conference can be used to launch the new leader and their policy suite. Now, I think that the Conservatives need to have a new leader in early September at the latest. Give them 3 to 4 weeks to prepare prior to the conference. And whoever the new leader is, it's only fair to give them that time to prepare. But you certainly don't want to be throwing a conference away with a leader that's lame duck. Everybody wants to see the back of him. And, you know, he's already said he is going to resign. So basically what I would say is Gareth Southgate, Rishi Sunak, time to go. I'm Nick Simon from Nottingham. If you've liked this video and you've seen it on X, please repost it. I would like as many people to see it as possible. If you've liked this video and you've seen it on Facebook, please share it for the same reason. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Nick Simon from Nottingham. Bye.